Good afternoon and welcome to Eye on Sheridan. I'm Claire Broussard.
And I'm Mike Rye. Today, healthcare professionals urge the province to raise minimum wage.
Kathleen Wynne calls for by-elections.
And a teenage girl talks about the growing issue of online prostitution in Halifax. But first, in Whitby, the search continues for 52-year-old missing teacher Jeffrey Boucher.
Routine.
What about his wallet and his cell phone?
Does not have a cell phone, and wallet and personal effects are still at the house.
Investigators believe Boucher may have become incapacitated. They're worried he's in danger because of being exposed to cold temperatures for a lengthy period of time. As of now, authorities are not suspecting any foul play. A composite sketch released today of a man who is believed to be responsible for a sex assault in 2012. A woman was assaulted after being grabbed in the Victoria Park and Danforth area. The suspect also threatened her life after the alleged assault and then fled the scene. He is described as black with a dark complexion, in his late 20s to early 30s, approximately 5'8", and has shoulder-length dreadlocks with blonde tips. If you have any information, please contact the police or Crime Stoppers.
A new study has come out on sexual assault of university students. The study took place in Nova Scotia. A consultant who took part says that younger students are more likely to be taken advantage of because of their inexperience with alcohol, and they don't always know what is considered sexual assault. According to researchers, only about 5% of sexual assaults are formally reported.
A man is in hospital with life-threatening injuries after being struck by a vehicle near Dundas Street East and Dixie Road. Emergency services responded to the call just after 9 last night. The man was initially sent to Trillium Hospital with head, shoulder, and leg injuries, but was later transported to a Toronto hospital.
A 77-year-old man was killed after being hit by a pickup truck in Innisfil's 10th Side Road early this morning. The man was pronounced dead at the scene between 13th and 14th line. Police are still investigating, but so far no charges have been laid.
There's been a lot of buzz lately about a student at York University who refused to work with a group of women because of his religious beliefs. The case poses a lot of questions on what place religion has in modern-day society. Our reporter Kabir Rathor Bagaria talked to the Director of Human Rights at Sheridan to get some answers.
You just gotta tough it out. Like, Christians have beliefs about homosexuality, but you don't see people saying, I can't be in a group with this man because he's gay.
If he actually practices his beliefs and not just says it to get out of working with a bunch of women, kind of think he's being a little sexist in that.
Some things that we do might not be right to them, and since we allow them here in the first place, it should kind of stay that way, and we should respect their values just as much as we respect our own.
Everyone should be treated equal with the same amount of respect. So I think that he should go with the women also.
I think it's very important that when you do come into
Into the proposed Bill 60 continued today in Quebec. The bill was proposed by the Parti Québécois as part of the Quebec Charter and will prohibit all public sector employees from wearing overtly religious symbols. The two major opposition parties have both made clear that they will vote against the provincial budget, triggering an election before the charter is voted upon. Health Providers Against Poverty is asking the province to raise the minimum wage to $14, up from the current $10.25. It says that poverty is the biggest barrier to good health in vulnerable populations, but not everyone agrees. Business leaders say raising the minimum wage could lead to job cuts. Meanwhile, the Ontario Chamber of Commerce and the Retail Council say minimum wage changes should be linked to inflation.
Provincial and territorial ministers are meeting today to talk about the Canada Job Grant Program. Discussion will include the federal government's revised plan scheduled to come into effect April 1st. $500 million a year in federal funding is at stake. Controversy over the program erupted after a launch of a taxpayer-funded $2.5 million marketing campaign, even though the program only exists on paper. Rob Ford doesn't think Toronto's rising unemployment rate is a problem and claims the city is booming, even though unemployment is up from 9.2% last November to 10.1% in December. Ford said he's created jobs during his tenure as mayor. He'll address the Economic Club of Canada on January 23rd.
Ontario Premier Kathleen Wynne called for by-elections in Thornhill and Niagara Falls. The votes are required to fill seats left vacant by Liberal Kim Crater and Progressive Conservative Peter Sherman. The by-elections will be held on Thursday, February 13th. Wynne also announced that her refusal to meet with Toronto Mayor Rob Ford is not a political grudge. Most of Rob Ford's mayoral powers were stripped after his admission to smoking crack cocaine during a drunken stupor. Deputy Mayor Norm Kelly has taken over many of the mayor's responsibilities.
A new plan is being proposed by Oakville City Council to rezone land and build a new high school right in Sheridan's backyard. Our reporter Evan Morrison has the details on this. An 85-year-old farmer in Trenton is vowing to fight the federal government's expropriation of his land as part of a planned expansion to the Canadian Forces Base. Frank Myers says he should be able to continue to live and work on the farm his family has owned since 1798. Myers is receiving support from around the country, most notably on a Facebook page that has received more than 28,000 likes since last fall.
Canada's Foreign Minister John Baird began a 3-day U.S. swing today by meeting with several vocal supporters of the Keystone XL pipeline project. The Alberta to Texas pipeline has been heavily contested by environmentalists and is currently undergoing review from the State Department. Baird will conclude his trip by meeting with Secretary of State John Kerry. People are questioning the safety of Canadian airports after a man with a pipe bomb in his carry-on was allowed to board his international flight from Edmonton last September. A court document says 18-year-old Skylar Murphy was found with black powder and a pipe bomb in his carry-on bag back on September 20th. Officers seized the items but still allowed him to board the international flight. The RCMP was not notified until 4 days later. Murphy was arrested when he returned to Canada September 27th. He pleaded guilty last month and was sentenced to 1 year's probation and charged with $100.
Google is in the midst of a lawsuit after displaying web ads that link to a person's health history. A man claims that he was seeing advertisements for sleep apnea based on his web browsing history. Behavioral advertising is not illegal, but Canada's privacy law does not allow consumers to be targeted based on sensitive personal information.
And still no apology from Sunwing Vacations to nearly 200 passengers left stranded in Cuba for almost 20 hours. Their flight home was scheduled to leave Veradero at 6:30 p.m. yesterday, but the plane was grounded because of technical difficulties. Passengers could not get to their luggage and had no food or water during a 12-hour wait at the airport. After being sent to a hotel for some food and rest, the weary passengers were finally allowed on the plane. A positive prediction on global economy has advanced the Toronto stock market and brought the Canadian dollar to 91.4 cents in the U.S. The World Bank's biannual Global Economics Prospects report said global growth will grow from 2.4% in 2013 to 3.2% in 2014. It is expected to be the first year of synchronous growth worldwide since the credit crisis. And coming up after the break, we will give you the details on the Marquee Beer Festival,
A wave of deadly bombings in Iraq,
and another gang rape incident in India.
These stories and more right after this.
Welcome back. A teenager in Halifax says she was an online prostitute and claims it's a growing issue among teenagers. The girl, using the name Abnita, says the going rate is $240 per hour for intercourse, and girls as young as 13 are earning thousands of dollars a day. The rate goes up if they travel to another city. New Brunswick and Nova Scotia are now trying to raise awareness about teenage online prostitution. Liberal leader Justin Trudeau is trying to create a solution for sex trade workers and prostitution. Trudeau says the criminal offense of prostitution is failing to protect some of the most vulnerable people in our society. The top court ruled that the current soliciting laws impose a danger to sex trade workers and violates their right to life, liberty, and security. The Liberal resolution wants to make prostitution legal and to provide the safest and best solution.
The appointing of Justice Mark Nadon to the Supreme Court is being contested today. Toronto lawyer Rocco Galati formally challenged Nadon's posting on the grounds that it violates the spirit of the Supreme Court Act. Nadon was a member of the Quebec Bar for over 10 years, but Galati argues that a position as Quebec's Superior or Appeals Court judge is also required at the time of the nomination. The hearing is expected to conclude this afternoon. And deadly violence in Egypt as voters head to the polls again for the second day. 9 people were killed yesterday in voting-related violence. There are disputes over a new constitution and the legitimacy of a military-backed government. The new version of the constitution will enforce the rights of women as well as criminalize torture and discrimination. It would also give Parliament the ability to impeach the president if there is any breach in the provisions of the constitution. Over the past 3 years, over 300 have died in political turmoil in Egypt.
Devastating fires are ripping through South Australia. At one time, as many as 350 separate fires were burning. Most were started by lightning. Incredibly, few injuries have been reported. Authorities say they now have contained most of the fires, but 14 are still blazing, and conditions could worsen Friday when winds pick up. On top of that, there's no end in sight to a sizzling heat wave with temperatures reaching 45 degrees Celsius. Thousands are fleeing massive flooding in Indonesia. One person has already been reported dead in Manado, which is submerged in 5 feet of water. The water levels have reached around 20 feet in some areas. 2,000 residents have been evacuated to surrounding government buildings and shelters. The eruption of Mount Sinabung volcano is intensifying. The volcano has erupted over 220 times this week. More than 22,000 people have been evacuated to surrounding areas, and the lava spewing from the volcano is now encroaching on nearby evacuee camps. However, the government says it is prepared for the worst. In case of bigger eruption, the danger zone is being increased from 7 to 10 kilometers.
The Vatican is preparing to defend itself against allegations that it enabled the rape of thousands of children by protecting its own reputation and clergy at the expense of the victims. The United Nations Committee will challenge the Holy See in Geneva on Thursday. To date, the Vatican has never had to defend itself in a large court. This is the first UN hearing dedicated to the issue.
The United States is providing Syria an additional $380 million for humanitarian aid. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says the humanitarian situation in Syria is an outrage. The latest pledge brings the total American commitment to $1.7 billion. The money will help fund relief for the Syrian people and host refuge communities in neighboring countries. More fallout today over a U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee report that found al-Qaeda was linked to the deadly 2012 attack on a U.S. diplomatic compound in Benghazi. It was initially believed that the attack sprung out of a protest. The report also blamed the State Department, the intelligence community, and even late Ambassador Chris Stevens for a failing to warn of terrorist attacks.
4 U.S. soldiers have been reprimanded for an incident in Afghanistan where 2 Iraqi insurgent bodies were burned. The incident became public after Australian TV showed footage of the soldiers burning the bodies. The footage also includes a message to the Taliban challenging them to pick up their dead bodies and fight. The soldiers who made the broadcast will face non-judicial punishment or something similar. A wave of bombings across Baghdad and eastern Iraq has left dozens of people dead and over 100 injured. Reports are conflicting as to the number of victims, but the toll could reach as high as 62. The deadliest attack struck a funeral in the town of Bariz, 60 kilometers north of Baghdad. No insurgent group has yet claimed responsibility for the attacks.
18 children and 3 adults have been killed in a school bus and truck collision in Pakistan. The children were returning from a quiz competition when the accident occurred. The wounded are being treated at a nearby hospital. A police officer on the scene blames speed and recklessness as the cause of the crash. Police are investigating another vicious gang rape in New Delhi, India. A 51-year-old Danish woman filed the report after some men lured her into a secluded area, then robbed and raped her. The attack happened as she asked them for directions to her hotel. According to government reports, between January and October of last year, 1,330 rapes were reported in New Delhi.
And today marks the 5-year anniversary of the Miracle on the Hudson. In 2009, Captain Chelsea B. Sullenberger saved 155 lives on Flight 1549. The plane went down shortly after taking off at LaGuardia Airport when the engines were damaged by a flock of geese. All crew members were hailed as heroes for their efforts. Sullenberger is now an author and aviation consultant for CBS News, and the plane is on permanent display at a museum in Charlotte.
And coming up after the break, we bring you Nathaniel Taylor with the latest in sports.
And Selena Singh gives us the scoop in the world of entertainment right after this. Welcome back to Eye on Sheridan.
Now we're going to sports, where Nathaniel Taylor has the latest from the Aussie Open, as well as some encouraging news for Maple Leaf fans.
Thanks, guys. That's right. Canadian tennis players Vasek Pospisil and Eugenie Bouchard are moving on to the third round of the Aussie Open. Extreme heat in Melbourne didn't seem to faze the two Canadians as Pospisil played through severe back pain, defeating Australian Matthew Edben in 5 sets. The 19-year-old Bouchard needed 7 match points to defeat French opponent Virginie Rosano. It is the second Grand Slam appearance for Bouchard. And the Maple Leafs got some sweet revenge last night against their rivals, the Boston Bruins. Early trouble for the Leafs as Jerome McGinley breaks away, but Bernier makes the big save to keep it tied. Still in the first, Leafs fail to clear and the Bruins take advantage. Patrice Bergeron gets it to Riley Smith and the save is made, but Brad Marchand puts in the rebound, 1-0 Bruins. Leafs respond, Phil Kessel sets up Carl Gunnarsson for the one-timer. Shot is stopped, but Tyler Bozak is there to clean up the garbage. We are all tied at 1. 7 minutes left in the first. Phil Kessel fires the puck, tipped by Bozak to James Van Riemsdyk. Back to Bozak for a second in the night game, tied at 2s. Pick it up in the third where Bozak brings into the zone, dumps it back to JVR, and he makes no mistake potting the wrister, glove side on Rask. The Leafs would survive a late scare and squeak out the 4-3 victory. Our sports reporter Andrew Osmond visited Canlan Ice Sports Complex in Oakville, talking to Canadian Paralympic sledge hockey team. Here's the story.
Members of the men's Paralympic sledge hockey team practice here in Oakville. They do off-ice and on-ice training with trainer Ted Alley at Beyond the Next Level.
These are Olympic athletes. They're no different. There's no no in their training.
The men's Paralympic sledge hockey team is here in Oakville practicing to get ready for the 2014 games in Sochi. They're ready to bring home the gold and they are honored to represent Canada.
We train every day. We're on the ice 5 days a week. We're in the gym right after or right before. And we've been doing it for more than a decade.
We have an instructor, a Russian instructor, and they hired him. And they were doing exactly everything we would do with stand-up. They would be doing it in the sleds.
Some players like Carl were not on the 2010 team and looked to crack the roster this time around. He's very thankful for the opportunity he has.
It's been cool since I've been with the team to be involved and just represent your country, but it's a whole new level of excitement to represent at the world stage like that, like a huge event that we've all been training for.
It's an honor. To represent your country and knowing that you're one of the best in your country and you got to try to, you feel like you want to make them proud, right? And you want to give everything you got. You train every day for this. And you get one moment of glory, and if you're lucky, and to wear that crest.
Members of the team are going to be here practicing every chance they get. They'll be heading off soon, so wish them luck as they fight for gold. Reporting for EyeOnSheridan, I'm Andrew Osmond.
TSN will be premiering a new series tonight called Reorientation, which documents homophobia in the world of sports. Here's a sneak peek.
Can't be with that sweet stuff. Somebody cheap shots you on the ice and you go, what a faggot. You dug down deep in your heart to find the worst thing you could call somebody, and it was that.
You can see the whole trailer on the EyeOnSheridan website shown below. And our Sheridan Bruins men and women's volleyball teams are on the road tonight against the Conestoga Condors. The Lady Bruins are looking for their first win since November 30th, while the Condors have won 6 in a row. That's all for sports. Now on to Selena with entertainment.
Thanks, Nathaniel. Drake will be making his hosting debut on SNL this Saturday. He first appeared on the show as a musical guest 2 years ago. The new promo video pokes fun at the rapper's past acting career on the Canadian teen drama Degrassi. SNL will also be celebrating the first show by welcoming Shashir Zameda. She's the first black woman casted in the show in more than 6 years. American Idol premieres its 13th season tonight with some major changes. Jennifer Lopez and Keith Urban return as judges with newcomer Harry Connick Jr. This is the first year Randy Jackson will not be a judge. Instead, he'll be working behind the scenes. Tune in tonight for some of the train wreck auditions. Now let's take a look at an interview with Ontario's own Tokyo Police Club. Our reporter Andrea Hodgins caught up with the band to talk about their new album and tour.
Sheridan College is just one of the stops on the current Tokyo Police Club tour.
Look out, students, here we come! It's great to know that the songs that get you excited are the songs that other people really gravitate towards as well.
If tonight's sold-out show here at Trafalgar Campus Sheridan College is any indication, expectations are high for Tokyo Police Club's new album, dropping in March.
It's called Force Field. It's coming out in the spring, in March. It's our third full-length studio album, and it's 9 songs. We spent 3 years working on it. I've never been more proud of anything I've ever done in my life. So,
And it's been such a lengthy process that I don't know. I'm like jittery with excitement.
Tokyo Police Club tells us what it's like to tour with Colorado.
it's just always good to tour with your friends. I mean, it's kind of easy. Sometimes it feels a bit like cheating to just tour with Colorado because I hang out with those guys at home and it's taking the show on the road. But I'm a fan of the band and I'm a fan of the guys, and anytime you can sort of bring those things together, it's great.
Fans can share their thoughts on the new album and stay up to date on the latest info via the Tokyo Police Club Twitter account. For EyeOnSheridan, I'm Andrea Hodgins.
The riders of a New York City bus by giving them a private concert.
On January 26th, nominees Macklemore and Ryan Lewis board a bus in the Bronx and give the passengers a nice surprise.
All right. They performed their #1 hit, Can't Hold Us, to promote the upcoming Grammy Awards. The passengers were in disbelief about the celebrity appearance and were dancing and singing along to the music. Macklemore and Ryan Lewis are just one of the musical talents taking part in the Grammys' Music Unleashes Us campaign. Other artists include Katy Perry, Pink, and Taylor Swift. As award season continues, the highly anticipated Oscar nominations will be announced tomorrow. Predictions for the Best Picture are American Hustle, Gravity, and 12 Years a Slave. The Golden Globes, however, proved there could be some surprises. Leonardo DiCaprio picked up the Best Actor for Wolf of Wall Street at the Golden Globes. Could this mean he finally gets an Oscar? Well, that's all for your entertainment news. Now back to the desk. Up next, Olga Torianskia tells us what to expect in the 5-day forecast.
And how about a publicity stunt that's taking the internet by storm? Coming up right after this.
Welcome back to Eye on Sheridan.
We take you now to our weather specialist Olga Transka for what to expect in your 5-day forecast. Olga?
Thanks, Ike. Now let's not get used to the warm weather that we've had these past few days. I know that we're all looking forward to spring, but we're back to the negatives. Don't put away your parka, please. Right now we're sitting at -2, but it feels like -9. This temperature will continue on to tomorrow as well, so make sure you bundle up. Now let's take a look at the 5-day forecast. Friday looks to be warming up. It will feel like -4, but it will be 1 degree with some scattered flurries. Saturday looks to be a little brighter. We will have a 4 hours of sunshine with -4, but it will be partly cloudy throughout the day and low of -7. Now, Sunday and Monday, we will be back to our scattered flurries with only 1 hour of sunshine. Sunday will be -3 with a low of -9, but Monday is looking a little brighter. During the day, it's going to be a normal high of -1, but it will drop down to a low of -10. With the current weather, it's next to impossible to get rid of the ice here. So here are a couple of tricks that you can do to help yourself from slipping. Now, if the salt is not around, and you should just look forward to finding some beet juice, which has been found to work great for melting ice, as well as cat litter. Also, try to avoid chipping the ice, doing the old-fashioned, you know what, guys, keep warm. I'm going to throw it back to Ike and Claire.
Thanks, Olga. Some filmmakers are putting viral videos to good use. This video of a frighteningly realistic devil baby in New York was created to promote the new film Devil's Due. The animatronic baby lured people in with normal baby cries and then scared them away with its horrifying gestures and sounds. And it looks like the future is now. Computer-driven cars are currently in test mode in California. These cars would cost about $2,000 more than regular cars. The DMV believes that they will actually be safer than those driven by humans.
Well, I'm not sure exactly how I'd react if I was snuck up on by that robotic baby, but that's all the time we have for today. I'm Mike Rye.
And I'm Claire Broussard. Thanks for watching.